So I have admittedly also been distracted, but that doesn't mean that I haven't seen anything. In fact, I watched a Netflix series that has become something of a cultural phenomenon at the moment. I'm talking about Tiger King, which takes an insightful look at the big cat breeding in America and the eccentric characters that populate it. One of the battles I'm a supporter of is the battle for animal rights and animal welfare. I wasn't always like this. I didn't care for animals until I was about 20 years old, until my family decided to take in a little Yorkshire Terrier, and we named her Chloe. And she changed my life, and she exposed me to a whole new level of empathy for animals and the environment. She continues to do that to this day. As such, I'm totally opposed to breeding because I understand that it kills shelter animals and it leads to overpopulation and destroys the health of animals too. Wild animal markets and trade have gained more exposure in the past few days, as it is widely suspected that the coronavirus pandemic was born out of a wild animal market in Wuhan in China. Some say it was made in a lab. I say it's a combination of both of those things. That, of course, is personal opinion. But as we discuss wild animal markets within the context of the coronavirus, the idea remains that these markets are things that are not done in the Western world and remain something that is primarily done in far away places, from our perspective. Tiger King shows that this is simply not true and that wild animal abuse is something that happens everywhere. So documentaries and artworks such as these actually help us to see things that are already out there in the world and we may not even be aware of, and we may not even know anything about them. But here's the thing. As I mentioned, I am a supporter of animal rights and animal welfare, but that doesn't mean that I agree with PETA and animal rights organizations when they showcase their extremist side. And that's simply because I am also against extremism. And some of these groups have voiced their disappointment with the fact that Tiger King, throughout its duration, glosses over animal abuse. I strongly disagree. I believe that animal abuse is right there in front of our eyes. I believe that none of these eccentric characters that run these breeding and cub petting businesses are painted favourably. And while they are admittedly fascinating to look at, it's impossible to actually like them. Then again, some people might legitimately like them, and I would not be surprised if this Halloween we saw people dressed up like Joe Exotic at parties. That is, if we get to have a Halloween this year at all, coronavirus permitting, right? So yes, there are some people who will miss the point and like people like Joe Exotic. But that's fine. What I say, like I say at the top of this program, free thought is allowed here. So that's something that I believe in, within reason, of course. But the thing is that you just can't impose thoughts on other people. You can't decide what other people think for two reasons. The first is because that would be totalitarianism. And this is something that the world should no longer have to put up with. Another is because people's awakenings are much stronger when they occur spontaneously. So as you watch this Joe Exotic guy carrying on in the way that he does, shooting guns, cracking jokes, singing his cheesy country and western songs, being all flamboyant, at some point, your attention may shift to the tigers and the cubs and the lions in cages or chained up. Wild animals forced to be domesticated for the benefit of a person's ego, and wild animals commodified as a symbol of status, treated as nothing more than a car or a trendy piece of clothing, and it's unbelievably sad. And this might lead to a sudden change of mentality. It might cause one to see the absolute horror of the situation and change a person's life much better than a piece of propaganda that perhaps extremist animal rights groups would have wanted Tiger King to be.